Hi everyone. So now we are going to start public administration again. So today's topic is moral. What is moral? See, moral also known as esprit de corps. Esprit de corps, as in Weber taught about that. So discussing the moral of a group is a intangible term to describe the capacity of a people to maintain belief in the institution or a goal. So there are certain goals and belief over their goals are known as the moral, and like military personnel and the member of sport team, but also applicable in business and in any other organization contracts. So particularly in time of stress or controversy, while the term is often used by authoritative figure as a generic value judgment of the willpower. So we can say moral is a willpower obedience. Moral layman word is the psychological state of an individual. It is Alexander Lagan. Its moral is the capacity of a group of people to pull together persistently and consistently in pursuit of common purpose. So persistently and consistently, two things are there, and the low morale is characterized by lack of interest and lack of indifference is there, weakness is there. Morale is primarily a group of concept. Generally it is a belief that high morale will lead to high productivity. However, Professor Keith Davis point out that there is not always a positive correlation between two. A manager can push for high productivity by using scientific management, time and close supervision. So high may result to low production, and but it is doubtful whether this combination can like if you are inspecting daily basis, you are supervising, so it can be reduced your morale. But in case you are giving more freedom to the workers, then the capacity will be automatically be improved. So manager works so hard to please his subordinates that they are too happy to work hard to themselves. So what is the factor affecting the morale? So Ranson Linkert was indicated that different combination of morale and productivity. Okay, high morale, low morale, low productivity, high morale. So this was some. Then one is the personal management. Okay, personal management is the process and techniques. Then human relation theory, that is also. And third is organizational environment. Okay, so first is personal management, process of technique. So in the personal management, assembling the social interaction of individual or organizing attain in maximum efficiencies, and individual in the organization perform at their optimum level in cooperation with each other. To ensure individual efficiency, there should be tools and techniques to maintain the individual worth and also to manage the health of the organization. These tools and technique including promotion, process of recruitment, training, transfer, grievance redressal mechanism and career development. Morale of an individual and organization as a whole. For instance, recruitment based purely on merit leads to positive morale individual in the organization. So therefore, personal management should be based on scientific and rational approach, thereby maintaining high morale of the organization. Okay, so next is human relation. What is the human relation? So next is the human relation. So human relations are concerned with all those elements that affect the interpersonal relationship. This component is very critical in influencing the morale of an organization. It includes leadership, decision making and communication. So leadership, decision making and communication and motivation, these are the human relations. So leadership affect the morale of organization. Fair treatment, equitable reward, recognition of good effects of morale greatly, and worker feel comfortable. Like you can get a question in the means what do you understand by human relations? So authorization, dictatorial, dominating, negativism, inconsiderateness and apathy are not conducive to the development of good work climate. Moreover, like negativism, if there will be inconsiderableness, if there is apathy, then that is not good. Moreover, the leader should be able to adjust and adapt and adjust according to the nature of the organization. So decision making should also be depend on the situation. For instance, if the organization populated with mature individual, then the decision should be inclusive, and if populated with the personality, then directive and coercive decision will be there. So motivation no doubt is a crucial element for the morale, but generally without motivation it is very impossible to achieve the high morale. In fact, motivation is directly linked with the morale. So motivation is linked with the morale, and when organization is populated with unskilled worker has to perform standard and repetitive jobs, so top down communication will be there. That will be the less morale. In case of standardized like metric system will be there, then will be the high morale. And worker will be skilled and mature. So this is the skilled and mature worker. So there is the free flow of communication. Like if there is free flow of communication from the everywhere, then that will be the high morale in the organization. Okay, next is the organizational environment. So organizational environment to goal of the organization influence the attitude of the employee. So attitude of the employee. Okay, so organizational environment is very important to influence the attitude of the employee. Greatly, goals set by the management are worthwhile, useful, acceptable, then worker develop positive feeling towards the job. So likewise, a clear structure will with a well-defined duties. So there will be duties and responsibilities and confidence and reputation of the company is another important factor worth maintaining here. Person working in reputed organization, feeling of pride. If he is in reputed, then feeling pride, spirit of loyalty. Okay, and poor attitude of co-worker influence other. If a worker talks negative about the organization all day long, then such a worker can make easy work day an unpleasant experience for the others. He can cause co-worker to think negatively, and don't such a attitude is certainly not a moral booster. So the organizational environment affect the structure, process, function and behavior process of the organization. And from the above discussion, it's empty clear that by improving the factors affecting the morale, the organization can maintain a very high morale. Okay, and high efficiency and productivity also. So what are the morale and efficiency? Okay, so morale. See, morale is set of common goals of organization attain the maximum efficiency. Organization perform at the optimum level, like what is he is able or he is willing to do something. The ability is the skill should be appreciable and adequate, and there should be willingness to exercise the ability, and adaptability and commitment. So what we need? Adaptability and commitment. Okay, so it is in fact this very notion, organizational efficiency is largely determined by the degree of individual integration of the organization. So integration of the organization is also important for that. Okay, so that's why organizational efficiency is has been expressed and propagated by a number of administrative theories. Like we can discuss about the fusion theory of Argyris, and transactional theory of McGregor, fusion theory of Argyris, transactional theory of the McGregor, and interacting influence is by Linkert. Okay, these are some theory. Chris Argyris theory, Linkert theory, and transactional influence theory of McGregor. We feeling not I. So moral by and large affects the overall efficiency of the organization. It is critical, bringing about the must required flexibility. So it's required flexibility, individual of the organization, they are building loyalty, and it will build the loyalty, it will build the commitment. Okay, an organization leading harmonious environment also. So this is an organization, so it is the goals, and there is then some efficiency and again the goal. So how it's morale also play a critical role, like transactional theory of McGregor establishing fusion, like Chris Argyris, E. Bucket discuss about the personalization, socialization, and low morale build frustration leads to divergence individual organization goal. Now we are going to study about case study. What is case study? Case study, Vaishali Saxena conducted a field study understanding the morale of civil servant in India. So, finding the field study published Bureaucracy and Wheel, Trauma of Transfer in Indian Administrative Service, Vaishali Saxena. So, establish a correction between the morale and efficiency besides the wanted to find the reasons for poor performance of civil servant. So, leading to lack commitment and enthusiasm in the part of officer. Moreover, the promotion were largely based on personal relation with seniors. Okay, so that was her case study, Vaishali Saxena. Now motivation. Motivation is, what is the motivation? See, motivation is word derived from the mover. Mover. It is which means the activity. Activity. Okay, it's therefore individual to drive toward desired goal. Desired goal. So persistent. Persistence, direction and intensity. Intensity. What is the intensity, what is direction, and what are persistent? That's important for motivation. Interest, process of activate. It is a process of activate करना किसी को, energize, enthusiast, guide, derive. Okay, so towards the goal. It is a critical factor of organization success. So some theories are there. One is the Maslow hierarchy theory. Maslow hierarchy need theory. Second is Hertzberg two-factor theory. Third is McGregor X and Y theory. And next theory is, these are early theory, Maslow, McGregor and Hertzberg. Okay, now contemporary theories. Contemporary means new theories are, which one? ERG theory, Mclaren theory, and goal setting theory, and reinforcement theory. So these are some theories for the morale. Okay, so first of all, next theory is the jobs design theory, equity theory and expectancy theory. So now first of all, Abraham Maslow. So Maslow, given the need hierarchy, he talked about the physiological, then he talked about the safety and security, then social, then esteem, then self-actualization. Okay, so Maslow was a social psychologist. He is well known for his publication, motivation and personality. His need hierarchy theory is one of the most widely known there developed on the motivation, although motivation has been dealt implicitly by the number of scholars. So hierarchy of needs theory is the first complete organized expressive theory of motivation. Maslow is pioneer in exclusively dealing the motivation, and his theory became the foundation for many subsequent theory. So Maslow categorized the human needs into 5 categories. Maslow populated then individual enter organization to fulfill their needs, inadequacy and deficits. Okay, so individual get motivated when the organization provide opportunities to fill their deficits. In other words, individual always have the derive. So motivation is generated with the deficit. Okay, there is deficit, that's why he is motivated to get something new, culturally, situationally determined as well, biologically, culturally, situationally. Abiding with other humanistic theory, he also believed in multiple factors of motivation. Okay, so this was the Maslow theory. Now he need hierarchy theory. See, this is the need hierarchy theory. So there was a self-actualization, then self-esteem, then social, security and psychological. Okay, this is the need hierarchy theory is the which become preponderant at early stage are referred as lower order needs. Fulfillment of lower order needs is precondition for higher order needs. The moment these lower order needs are fulfilled, the intermediate or middle order needs become prepotent, and again the fulfillment of these middle order needs leads to prepotency of higher order needs and self-actualization. In other words, the fulfillment of lower order needs precondition for the higher order needs, and the prepotency of needs of individual follow a systematic order, and systematic order refers to the need hierarchy. So self-actualization needs are internal needs. The individual does the work for sheer pleasure of doing it. The individual loves to work. The work itself is satisfying. It is not deficient needs, it's rather a growth need. Okay, so this is the need hierarchy. Now we are going to discuss about role of manager. What Maslow described about role of manager? Maslow said role of manager is to control the people. Higher order needs are difficult to be controlled, so the difficulty level of control increase with the increase in order of the needs. It is extremely difficult to find out whether an individual with self-actualization will ever be motivated, and it is difficult to integrate his needs of organization. So Maslow talked. Alan Chapman also talked about the Maslow five needs is cognitive needs. He talked about the cognitive need. Then he talked about the aesthetic need. Then he talked about the transaction need, transcendence need. Okay, three cognitive and aesthetic and transcendence needs are Maslow. Implicitly, he believed that these needs are inherent, but it is Alan Chapman who explicitly clarify these needs. And cognitive needs is the need for knowledge. The aesthetic needs is need for beauty, balance, form, competence, and transcendence needs has been referred by Maslow as meta motivational need. So these are the meta motivational need. Okay, so it is the hierarchy. Now after self actualization, which need is there? Transcendence need is there. And here is self actualization, here is aesthetic need, here is esteem need, here is social need, here is security need, and physiological need. So these needs hierarchy Maslow described. Next is the Hertzberg two-factor theory. Two-factor theory, writing Abraham Maslow, Douglas McGregor, and Chris Argyris. He was a social psychologist. He brought out two books, Work and Nature of the Man, The Motivation to the Work. Like other humanistic theory, he also believed that motivation is multidimensional. He explained this theory, motivation is relation with goal. He observed that individuals enter into organization in search of satisfaction, and he analyzed relationship between meaningful experience at work and mental health also. So there was a Hertzberg contribution, two-factor theory. First is the motivating theory, and second is the job enrichment. So Hertzberg theory, which is also known the motivation and hygiene factor. One is the hygiene factor and one is the motivation factor. Okay, so study 100 accountant engineer in and around Petersburg and Pennsylvania. Study revolved around the basic issue. First is identification of event which result in the importance in the job satisfaction, identification and event. Then hygiene is the hygiene factors are the company policy, administration, then supervision, then salary, then interpersonal relationship and working condition. Okay, and next is the motivating factor. Motivating factors are the satisfier. So here are the achievement, recognition, work itself, responsibility and advancement. These are the motivating factors. So there is the dissatisfier and there is the satisfier. Okay, and this whole dissatisfier and satisfaction, Hertzberg through dual unipolar trait theory explained that absence of dissatisfaction is not equivalent to satisfaction. Likewise, the absence of satisfaction is not equivalent to dissatisfaction. So the factor involved in producing job satisfaction are distinct from factor leads to job dissatisfaction. It is satisfier that induce the motivation in the individual. So satisfaction and dissatisfaction are discrete and different. They are not opposite ends to the continuum, and they are rather two unipolar traits. They are what? Unipolar traits, and they are not different continuum. They are discrete and different, not discrete and different. The motivator and satisfier has much more long lasting impact on sustaining satisfaction of fact. This factor once addressed remain for longer duration. This dissatisfier don't remain for long, so they need to be replenished frequently and they are not self-sustaining. So satisfier and dissatisfier are not self-sustaining. They need to replenish frequently also for the longer duration. Therefore, they are known the maintenance factors also. So Hertzberg rather further iterated that the health of the organization lie in providing both satisfier and dissatisfier. It is manager's job to extract the best out of workers by applying concept of satisfier and dissatisfier. Now there is the hygiene factor. Hygiene factor is the motivated by the nature of environment, and they are highly sensitive to the hygiene factor and show little interest on the work, are low achievers, and they realize little satisfaction from the accomplishment. And the motivation seekers are motivated by the nature of job. So there are the nature of job, and they are relatively more tolerant to the hygiene, very sensitive towards the motivation. They appreciate and enjoy the work. High achievers, they realize great satisfaction. So the successful hygiene seeker have followed impact on organization. Their lead for organization to as is where is they instill their own motivation attitude into their subordinate and set extrinsic reward atmosphere. So hygiene seeker, even after fulfillment of the identity and nature worker in organization, once identified, she should work both the factors accordingly. So hygiene factors convert in the motivation factor terms of achievement, actualization, job, and long run this policy has impact in the organization. Therefore husband are discussed about the job enrichment. So what is the job enrichment? See, job enrichment. Job enrichment is the if work is routine and repetitive, leads to monotonous life and result to boredom. So monotonous life and boredom if routine work is there, but this may be handled through the job enrichment. Job enrichment is a term founded by Frederick Herzberg. The concept has been significantly augmented by the work done Yale University under the direction of Richard Heckman. So job enrichment as such is technique used by the company manager to maximum individual internal motivation. Herzberg horizontal leading Chris Argyris and promoted vertical leading, and the horizontal loading increase the stress of individual instead of doing same kind of job. So individual should rather multitask his job and have more responsibility or vertical loading. Now Maslow and Herzberg. What is the difference between the Maslow and Herzberg? Maslow and Herzberg. So Maslow's theory is based on the needs. Okay, Maslow's theory based on the needs. Its all needs have same impact on motivation, and only one need is preponderant at the given point of time. But Herzberg theory is based on the goals. This is on the needs. This is on the goals. Herzberg only one factor, two satisfier and motivator. All needs are same impact. There is the all needs are same impact, but Herzberg is talking about the satisfier and motivator. Only one need is preponderant at the given point of time. So one need is the preponderant in the one single time, but there is both satisfier and dissatisfier are simultaneously operational influence of behavior in the given time. So this is the difference between Maslow and Herzberg. The hygiene factor of Herzberg includes psychological, security, social part of esteem needs of Maslow, and the motivation factor includes a part of esteem needs and wall of the self-actualization. Now McGregor X and Y theory, X and Y. So Douglas McGregor was the proposed distinct view of human being through theory X and Y. So theory X was the employer inherently dislike the work. Whenever possible, they attempt to avoid the work. The worker needs to be caused, controlled, or threatened with punishment to achieve goal. The employer tend to avoid responsibility and seek formal direction whenever possible. Most of the workers place security about all other factors associated with work, and with display little ambition. Okay, but theory Y, what is talking about theory Y? Now this is the Herzberg theory, and there is the theory Y, and there is the theory X. Okay, so how we are describing in the diagram also. So in the diagram also we are describing this theory Y and theory X. Okay, so this is the self actualization, this is the esteem need, then this is the social need, this is the security need, and then physiological need. Theory X assume that lower order needs. Theory Y, employer consider work as a natural enjoy the work, worker like the exercise, self-direction, self-control, committed to objective. The average person can learn to accept and even seek responsibility, the ability to make motivation decision widely dispersed population, and it's not necessarily the sole province of those management position. So theory why assume that the higher order needs like social esteem, self-actualization needs dominate in influencing the motivation. Now, contemporary theories. First is ERG theory. ERG theory is the Alderfer. Alderfer is the Clayton. Clayton Alderfer in the Moscow needs theory to redesign is more closely. So it is a need of existence, need of relateness, and need of growth. Need of existence, relateness, and need of growth is include the social extrinsic physiological, then social, then intrinsic component esteem and self-actualization. Maslow's 5 needs have been substituted by Alderfer. The novelty ERG is that more than one needs may be preponderant to the same time. So higher order needs is not satisfied, then the desire to satisfy lower order needs, and referred a frustration. So Alderfer given ERG theory is more consistent with knowledge of individual difference among people. There may be many factors such as education, family environment, and cultural environment. So need for particular individual, this ultimately result individual differences. And ERG theory could address a number of missing links of Maslow need hierarchy. Okay, now Mclaren theory. So next is Mclaren theory. Mclaren theory. Mclaren theory is what? Mclaren theory of needs is the David Mclaren. He given the associate development a theory of motivation similar to Maslow and Adler theory, which came to be known as theory of needs. It is also known achievement motivation theory. So achievement and motivation theory. So it's a needs for motivation, needs for achievement, Nach, needs for achievement, needs for power, Napo, and needs for affiliation. So Nach, Napao, and affiliation, desired friendly, relaxed, close interpersonal relationship. So achievement prefer job than offer. So personal responsibility, feedback, and moderate risk. So what are the responsibility? What are the feedback? And what are the moderate risk? Okay. So these are according to the theory. Individual who want to take high risk, rely on chance factor, are low on needs for achievement. On the contrary, individual with high needs for achievement, job situation with personal responsibility, feedback, and degree of risk. So individual with high needs for achievement are individual oriented. They may be good leader of enterprises. Okay. Both now and NAF has not been dealt adequately. The manager with high now and high NAF are generally successful. So a need for power and need for affiliation is very important for the achievement. Okay, next is the goal setting theory. Goal setting theory. Goal setting theory is given by the Edwin Locke. Edwin Locke is the goal setting theory. Is at the first instance, one group was asked to build a block with building block. The group was not given a target. Group built a block of 14 layer. The second group was then asked to build a block, but the group was given a target of 19 layer. Okay, so this is the difficult goal with provision for feedback leads to high performance. He focused on certain characteristics of job, goal commitment, adequate self-efficacy, task characteristics, and structure and national culture. So self-efficiency refer to the individual belief that he or she capable of performing the task. So that's why difficult situation he will improve his self-efficacy and will be more motivated and try harder to master the challenges. The individual high in self-efficacy when faced with negative feedback also and increase their efforts, while the ones who are low in self-efficacy get motivated and lessen their efforts when negative feedbacks are there. So task structure is simple, complex, well learned, and independent rather than interdependent. Okay, so this was the goal settling theory. Now next theory is the reinforcement theory, which is the reinforcement theory. Reinforcement theory is like there is a individual and there is personal responsibility, then there is a feedback, and there is moderate risk also. Okay, personal responsibility, feedback and risk also. So reinforcement theory is an extensive goal setting theory and function of its consequences individual from within a oneself. Reinforcement theory contradicted the view and perception of individual is based on either positive or negative reinforcement provided by other individual. Next is the cognitive theory. Cognitive theories are like cognitive evaluation theory, CET. It's observed the allocation or introduction of extrinsic rewards behavior that has been intrinsically rewarding tend to decrease the overall level of motivation. The impact of intrinsic and extrinsic factor, interpersonal relationship of both factor or individual performance are evaluated. So this will be the major concern of Herzberg two-factor theory and Mclaren theory. ERG theory also. CET, cognitive evaluative theory, person is recruited as permanent employee from being volunteers, loss enthusiasm or zeal. So motivation and performance is evaluating on per the his role he played in this organization. So he pay supervision should be the extrinsic factor to play individual change from being a controller or performer. Okay, so intrinsic factor motivated individual and extrinsic factor are also motivating the particular job. Okay, so these are all theory about the cognitive evaluating theory. Now job design theory. Job design theory. Job design theory is the Maslow, McGregor and Herzberg had touched upon introduction of looking at the work, possible source of motivation. So job design, to designing a job, like what is the motivation factors, what are the goals for the job, what are certain jobs and could influence the perception of individual. The perception and term define the performance of the individual. So job setting design theory basis for motivation through job characteristics. A job can be described in terms of 5 core dimensions. Skills, what are the skill, what are the task, what are the significance of that task, and what are the autonomy, and what are that feedback. Okay, so this is the skill variety. So skill variety, task identity, task significance, autonomy and feedback. So experience of meaningfulness of work, experience responsibility for the outcome of work, knowledge of actual result of the work. So this is the core job set dimension: skill, task, task significance, autonomy and the feedback. So physiological states are experience and meaningful of the work, experience responsibility for the work and knowledge for the work. So skill variety and plus task. Skill plus task is equal to the autonomy and the feedback. Okay, so this is the job design theory. Okay, now job design theory is completed. Now we are going to discuss about the social information processing model, SIP model. So SIP model is what? Social information and processing model. SIP model is the variable and perception because of multiple factors. Consider perception to be constant for the individual. So perception of individual differently based on their individual values, social influence. The individual adopt different attitude, behavior in response to social cue provided. So this is the SIP model, social influencing processing model. Okay, how individual is influenced by the social factors, that is the social influencing model. Okay, equity theory. Next is equity theory. So equity theory is like what is the output, then what are the input, what are inequality, what are equity, what are equality. Okay, this is the equity theory. So it is the Adam, J. Stacy Adam. J. Stacy Adam given the maturation of the theory of motivation, and Herbert Simon and Bernard, like what Simon and Bernard given the theories. So Adam is like Stacy Adam given the theories, what Herbert Simon and Bernard, the individual compare their job inputs and outcome with those other and they respond to the eliminate any inequality. So according to the theory, the individual enter into the organization to contribute, but the contribution is contingent over the satisfaction. So it's depending on the relationship between the contribution and satisfaction. And satisfaction, there is equity. So self inside, self outside, other inside, other outside. These are the individual behavior in the organization to be measured. That can be like two situations in the lack of motivation. If he is lack of motivation, then changing the inputs and changing the outputs. If we will change the input, then he will get more reward. he will get more things in the organization, changing the output. So over rewarded situation, the output should be changed, and distorts perception of self, like change of perception, input, outcome. So distort perception of others. So what we are thinking for others, we should change about that. Choose the different percept respect to change the persons to whom to individual was previously referring the comparing. So I may not make the much money as my brother is low, but I am doing a lot of better than I did before. So leave the field when none of the above choices work. Okay, the equity theory was previously focused on distributive justice, like fairness, amount of allocation, rewards, and individual justice, distributive justice, and all that. Okay, procedural justice. Now next is expectancy theory. Expectancy theory is the most widely used, like individual efforts, then individual performance, then individual reward, and then personal goals. Okay, this is the expectancy theory. Expectancy theory is the one of most widely accepted explanation of the motivation. Victor Vroom, who given this theory? Victor Vroom. Victor Vroom proposed expectancy theory. According to theory, strength motivation depends on two factors: goal attractiveness and perception of attainability of the personal goal. So this is the individual efforts depend on whether the efforts will result in accomplishment of personal goal. So this is the what is the effort should be contingent to the performance, efforts of performance, performance reward relationships, rewards personal goal relationships, and key like valence, like strength. So it is Victor Vroom who given the expectancy theory. So valence, the strength of an individual preference is attaining the goal referred as valence. Positive valence is the preference to achieve the goal. Negative valence means not rely on the achieve the goal. So expectancy is the efforts related to achieve the first level outcome, and instrumentality the first level outcome leading to final or second level outcome. So this efforts taken up positive outcome, and performance and instrumentality connects the outcome. Okay, so next is Porter-Lawler model. Next is the Porter and a Lawler model. Lawler. Porter-Lawler model is the number of theory dealt with the expectancy theory, and Porter-Lawler theory is one of them with altogether different findings. So it's Porter-Lawler considered efforts, performance, rewards, and personal goal. So it's what are the ability, what are the role of the perception, what are the role ability क्या है, what are the ability, what are the role of the perceptions, and what are the efforts of to get that performance for the personal goal, for the personal goals. Okay, so this is the goal is a vague, then the efforts will be worthless. The performance result into intrinsic reward. So this is explained through perceived equitable reward. So rewarded only when individual is rewarded according to his liking, and this is individual is motivated when the efforts result to those rewards. So generally theory gives simplified individual motivation depends upon satisfaction. Porter-Lawler was the given the relationship between the satisfaction and the performance. Okay, so this was the all about the today the theory of the motivation we discussed here. Now next is the theory of the leadership. Okay, so theory of the leadership, like leaders should be very motivated, moral oriented, very enthusiastic, behaviorally there's some good traits to the leaders. So trait theory, first is the trait theory is like personal characteristics, like an individual is leader by birth, great leader are born and not mad. This is the referred as great man theory also, and leadership characteristics are inherently present to those individual who acquired some relevant example as given like Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela. An individual is a leader by virtue of possession a certain characteristic of traits. These traits are can be through the training or learned through education. This trait modification great man theory, and it is the dynamic of the leadership process and situation which make the emergence of leader possible. So it is the leadership studies also. Next is the behavioral theory. So behavioral theory is the also the resemble to the trait theory. It's rejected the trait theory, and he said like leaders are not born. It is like they can make some skills, they can learn some skills. So there are Ohio school, and Michigan school, and grid pattern, Scandinavian studies, and behavioral theory has later become situational theory also. So Ohio State is a school like given one diagram for there, like there is the high low high and low, and then high and low. Okay, so this is like there is the high, there is low, then there is high. So this is the initiating the structure of Ohio school. It's given like initiating structure to extent to which a leader is likely to define the structure. Two, like role of the subordinate in the search of goals, attainments, considerations, the extent to which a person is likely to have a job relationship, and mutual trust, respect, employee ideas, regards. An Ohio State study came out with four major styles leadership and tried to identify the most effective style of leadership. It can found leaders with high initiating structures, and they did further study. They came with the conclusion that no style of leadership is effective across the circumstances. Now the University of Michigan study. So leadership study were undertaken by University of Michigan, and this is the Ohio State, like employee oriented or production oriented behavior. So employee oriented leader gave emphasis on the interpersonal relationship and addressed the need of the subordinate, where the production oriented leader gave emphasis to the task aspect and technical aspect of the job. And the study concluded that employee oriented leaders were more productive and higher job satisfied than the task oriented leader. This is the Michigan school. Now managerial grid. So what is the managerial grid school? Managerial grid school was given by Black and Martin, and conducted a study of leadership. It is based on a grid. So this is a grid system. Okay, and this is the higher task, this is the higher employment, and this is the middle path, and this is the lowest. This is some extent, and this is 9 this is 0 this is 0 9, and this is 9 and this is the 5 and 5. So Black and Merton given this theory. So he was inspired by the Ohio School of Theory and the Michigan School of Theory. So he given the impoverized means one and one. So this is the impoverized condition. And second is the country club. So this is the country club, they are just talking to each other, country club. Third is the task oriented. This is the task oriented leader, and this is the team oriented leader. And this is the middle of road. So this was the through managerial grid. He discussed the different style of leadership. It failed to come out with a tangible conclusion and substantive evidence to support the conclusion. Team oriented leadership style is most effective of the all of the situation. Now Scandinavian studies are there. Some Scandinavian studies are like who conducted Finland and Sweden. The studies reviewed the original Ohio State study and come out with the third dimension, namely the development oriented. The leaders would demonstrate development oriented behavior, have more satisfied employee, and are seen as the more competent to the employee. All behavioral theory like trait theory tried to find out the type of leadership could be effective across circumstances, and trait and behavioral theory deterministic and believe in universality of the theories. So they rejected contingency theory and trait and behavioral theory and advocated the effectiveness of leadership depends upon the situation. So these are the contingency theory which is given by the Fiedler. So Fred Fiedler given the contingency theory. Now Hersey and Blanchard was there. Then path goal theory was there. Then tridimensional theory was there. Then Tannenbaum theory and Schmidt. Tannenbaum and Schmidt theory was there, and the handy best fit theory was there. So 1960 and 17, the trait and behavioral theory. The number of scholars took up the studies and group of theories came to be known contingency theory. So Fiedler given the leadership style theory. He given one diagram like this. So this is the favorable condition, this is the unfavorable condition, and this is the moderate condition. Okay, so Fiedler identify 8 categories. One is the extremely favorable conditions, one is the extremely non-favorable condition, and one is the moderate condition. So leader is the either he will be either good, so good, either he will be poor. If task structure is there, then high low, high. If position is there, then strong weak, like this is the graph he showed there. So leadership style, Fiedler believed the factor of leadership success in individual basic leadership style. Fiedler created least preferred co-worker. So least preferred co-worker, he found that if the least preferred co-worker is described in relatively positive term, then the LPC score is high. Such leader with high LPC score relationship oriented. So high LPC, high least preferred co-worker, are the relationship oriented, and if a least preferred co-worker is seen in relatively unfavorable term, then the LPC score is low. So nature of situation is very important. Leader and member relationship, and what is the trust, confidence, respect, task structure, like which job assignment is well defined, position and power is degree of influence that the leader have over power variable, and all that. So this is the style. So leader, LPC is task oriented leader, low LPC is task oriented, and high LPC is the relationship oriented leader. So change the leaders to fit the situation, change the situation to fit the leader. Okay, now cognitive resource theory. So one is which theory, one theory is like Hersey and Blanchard situational theory. Situational theory is given by the Hersey and Blanchard. Hersey and Blanchard is the Paul Hersey and Ken Blanchard is the and gained the strong following model. This is situational theory is also known the life cycle theory. Okay, life cycle theory. Situational theory also known the life cycle theory of the leadership. The theory is based on leader follower relationship and focus on follower readiness or willingness. The leader follower relationship is analog with parent child relationship. So Hersey and Blanchard identified two factors, job and psychological maturity. So these are the leadership theory, and this is based on the leadership theory of situation, where the job and psychological maturities and task, and what is the job, how to deal with the job, abilities, maturity, responsibility, willingness is very important. So maturity level, if it's a telling, it's selling, it's participate, or glad to go for delegating. So this is the Hersey and Blanchard situational theory given by the Hersey and Blanchard. Okay, now path goal theory. Next is the path goal theory. Path goal theory is considered one of the most influential model theory. Robert House given the path goal theory, and Vroom expectancy theory is also there. Okay, so this is the goal to be achieved, medium through which to goal to be achieved, goal attractiveness, perception and attentiveness of the goal. So situation 1 is the goal is not clear, it is difficult to establish tool and technique that may be adopted. Situational 2, the task is programmed and repetitive, the organization has adequate experience in dealing with task, and supportive leader who can encourage and sensitive to subordinate needs. Third is this task is clear and non-repetitive. Fourth is the task is clear and non-repetitive, but degree of clarity is goal is slightly less. So goal setting path goals theory is about the directive, supportive, achievement oriented leader and participative leader. So if task is not clearly established, he will be directive. If task is repetitive, monotonous, then be supportive. Is clear and non-repetitive, then achievement. Is work is clear but non as a clear in previous and non-repetitive, then he will be the participative leader. Okay, so this is the theory. Now next theory is the three-dimensional theory, tri-dimensional or grid theory. So this theory is like here we will discuss about like missionary and compromise and deserter and autocrat. So a autocrat will be never be according to the job, but he deserter will be the according to the job. Then missionary will be the more prominent to the job, and compromise will never good for the job. So most leadership style account for the three-dimensional theory, and if he is the missionary, he will maintain the good relationship. If he is compromising the things, he can't integrate the things. If he is a dresser, he will be the separated, and if autocrat, he will be the differentiated. Okay, so bureaucrats are autocrat, missionaries are like participative leader. So this is the task orientation and the employee orientation. Two things are there. Okay, so what is the differentiation, what is the separation, or what is the integration? So three things are given: three dimension theory, relation, differentiation, and integration. Okay, now Tenenbaum and Schmidt theory are given. So that is the Tenenbaum and Schmidt theory. So this theory is related to the four types of, like, what is telling, then we'll go selling, then consulting, then joining. So telling, selling, consulting, and joining. Okay, so this is the Schmidt theory, and this is like system 1 is equivalent to the tell, system 2 is equivalent to the sale, then consult, then join. So leadership style, later on manual job and unskilled labor is telling, skill job is join, and intermediate is sell and consult. So handy best fit theory. Handy best fit theory is this approach stated that there is one base style of leadership every organization situation, but the leadership style should also change with the change in situation. The theory come out with the concept of equifinality, and there is a number of ways which are equally good. All said there will be one best way for a particular situation. Okay, so today we discussed about this all.